Abstract Curiosity Podcast is your go-to spot for those eager to level up with a deeper sense of self by exploring the world with a curious eye. We are two gurus in human design and astrology on a mission to spice up life with a burning passion and enthusiasm of topics like
Chiron, gene keys, spirituality, channeling, and really any life transition. Life's a journey, and sometimes we just need a funky new roadmap to navigate our way through this wild world. Welcome.
Abstract Curiosity. My name is Rebeka. I'm a 1-3 mental projector, Virgo Sun, Capricorn Moon, and Rising.
Hey, I'm Michelle McGinnis, and I am a 4-1 emotional generator. I'm always so slow on this. I am a Sun Scorpio, Cancer Rising, and Aquarius Moon. Welcome to Abstract Curiosity.
Welcome, friends. Thank you for spending this time with us. And as usual, if you are brand new to us, we like to introduce ourselves this way so that you can just understand the filter through which we see life and see how you can relate to us a little deeper that way.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, yes. Because I know for me, when I first discovered I was a mental projector and I have heard other mental projectors on podcast, I was just so grateful to hear their experience. Did you have the same thing when you started meeting other emotional generators or even 4-1s?
Yeah, I think I was probably more excited to meet more 4-1s just because, generators were the biggest population of us out there. And I think when you first find out that you are that, at least it was for me, there was a little bit of sadness. Like, oh, I would really like to be a little bit more unique, right? Because aren't we always trying to be like, figure out our uniqueness in life? And if somebody tells us that we're unique, we're so excited about it. And guess what? There's always something unique in everyone's chart, whether it's a center that isn't defined and yours is, or whatever that might be. So yeah, I totally can understand what you're saying, but mine was definitely probably because I was a 4-1.
I can understand that because the 4-1 is so rare. And yeah, I know I've seen other people say that too when they're like, oh, I'm an emotional generator, like big deal. Everybody's an emotional generator. Like, no, but you're not the same kind as anybody else. Let's dig in.
Truly.
So we hope that by sharing this information, you can feel yourself being seen in a little bit of a deeper way through our words and our conversations, because that's our goal here.
Yeah, we were just talking about relatability, and I think that you were just talking about Taylor Swift really quick and how much you love her because she's so relatable to everything. And I think that's cool because I think as we're talking about those things, it does make us relatable. Like, oh, I'm this or I'm that within all of that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, just had to say that. It does.
Yeah, well, and I just realized that she really fits into what we were talking about, what we were kind of thinking about chatting about today, because just really that switch from serious Capricorn, like cross planning, like put on your business suit and be a business person and make the money. And we're moving more into the feminine, age of Aquarius, women rising up, where, Taylor Swift is arguably the most successful pop star at the moment. And it's because she's being herself.
Yes.
She's breaking all those rules and she's writing about her life and sharing these feelings that everybody, well, I mean, her fan base, at least, like the people who love her can deeply relate. And it's like she's writing our stories. And she even said that in the announcement of this latest album. She's like, the story is done. It's complete. It's no longer mine. Now it's all yours. And that's what gets me. Yes. And it's just collectively see so much movement towards that, where we're allowed to actually be humans and be successful now.
Yeah, and the age, and it's interesting you said that because it is really about that age. We are in the age of Aquarius, and Aquarian is about innovation, and it is about technology. And it's funny because just talking from that, like it's available to all of us now. There's a more level playing field that has just begun, right? We're not saying that it's stable and there for everyone yet, but there is so much more. It's funny. I was just talking to some of my clients about the idea of, people complaining about, oh, social media. I'm like, social media is what makes your business, right? It is a free flipping platform for all of us to show up authentically and do and be everything we want to do and be, however we want to promote ourselves. And it, of course, everything comes with the ugly side of it. But I love how you said that. But she released it to us so we can own it. And it's just like, there's so much of that happening right now. The leveling up and the expansion of who people are, and feeling like you can show up authentically and not worry about letting that freak flag fly. Like, be your genuine self now. Like,
Yes.
that's such an exciting thing.
It is such an exciting thing. It is so exciting. And I'm with you on the social media thing. One of my friends said recently, she has an interesting relationship with social media. Like, it just overwhelms her, which is totally fine. But she's like, these young people, like, they're not learning or something. I don't know, some typical thing that people say. And I was like, you clearly haven't been on TikTok that much, because there's a lot of people who are sharing some amazing things. Like, there's young people who are in their PhD program for neuroscience, and they're also talking about what they're learning on TikTok.
Yeah.
And like, there's stuff that I never would have been able to learn about myself. Like, I truly believe that there's stuff that I wouldn't have been able to connect for myself without TikTok, without social media, and this ability to hear other people's stories and other people's journeys. It just is mind blowing to me, and I'll always be grateful for it. It's a tool. It's a tool. If you're not liking it, then you're either not meant to use it, or you're just using it incorrectly.
Yeah, and letting the For You page dictate instead of going in there and telling it what you want, right? Getting into the search bar and saying, this is what I want to see, right? Especially with TikTok, because the algorithms, I think, are pretty good.
They are. I know. I think I've gotten it to a spot now where, like, I can open up and I feel like Spirit's talking to me most of the time, because I follow people that I know, like, really are connected. I feel good about it.
I love that so much, because, you think back in the time when none of that was available. If we wanted to learn something, we had to go to the library. That concept seems so foreign now, right? Like a world
go to
without
the card catalog.
Yes. And that microfilm or whatever. Oh, I hated the microfilm when I found it, because then you'd spin through that for hours and you come with one sentence for your report, right? And that's the cool part nowadays, is that we have an opportunity to show up authentically because information is available. You want to learn anything, flip open your computer or your phone, for God's sakes. All you need is a phone now. Like,
it is at your fingertips, literally. Yeah. It is mind blowing.
And enhancing that spidey sense, I think, to me, is the most important thing for human beings, because you have to learn to be able to dictate if the information you're receiving is valid for you or not. So that authenticity you just get to show up as yourself. I think the biggest fear is still how people can be very vicious and mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In any platform, anywhere you're at, like, that's part of because you trigger people who aren't showing up for themselves. And so when they see other people doing it, they get real vicious. And it's easy to do it with words, right? Face to face, it's different.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to do when you're across the world and you're just looking at your phone. So
what do you think is the most authentic, or maybe not authentic, maybe it's, what is the thing that you think is the strangest thing about yourself that maybe you've always tried to contain, like you didn't want people to know about? Do you have one?
Well, yeah, I have to think about specifically. I'm just going to talk and do my mental projector thing. That's one, being a mental projector. Also, like, just figuring out the neurodiversity and believing very strongly that I could be autistic. And so it's like I've been trying to hide my whole life until like a month ago. And so I'm still learning. So that's a good question, because I feel like honestly, if I were to answer that honestly, historically, I've hidden everything about myself because I thought I was just too wrong. And so I
Oh,
was
too
trying to fit
wrong.
in.
Wow. Too wrong. I would have thought it would have been a different word. That's interesting. Too wrong. Like too wrong as in your opinions of things or who you were?
Just me.
Just you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Wow.
didn't fit in. I wasn't lovable. I don't say the right things. Yeah, none of it felt right, so I just tried to be better.
Yeah, probably be more of a chameleon, yeah? Was chameleon your kind
Yes.
of... Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So trying to figure out who I am. And it was surprising because I felt like I had been coming out of my shell more, especially since finding human design. Like that has saved me so much because then if I meet human design people and they see my chart, it's like, okay, like you, I feel like you have seen me from the beginning and it's saved me. Like it's been great. But then there's people who like it always blows my mind, like my kid's dad. We've been in each other's
Yeah.
lives for 27 years and I don't think he knows me. I'm like, am I? And so that's why before I would internalize it, like I must not be lovable enough or good enough. Otherwise, he would see me and he would have still loved me.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And just the self-discovery of that and like feeling open enough to like even share that with people. Hey, I may be neurodivergent. Because that's something that's like hidden within, right? Like that's all these whispers
Yes.
within. That's not anything that's out in the outside world. That feels scary, I imagine.
Yes. Yes. It's almost like, hey, like I've been lying for 42 years. Just kidding. Like it's almost like that, but it's also very freeing. I mean, I feel like I'm still processing it, but you're right. It's all so internal. It's all so internal and people don't really understand unless you've been through it yourself, like how debilitating that really is and what it feels like on the inside. You know, if I were to have cancer and have to go get chemo and lose my hair and there's these physical outside things and people are like, look at Rebeka suffering, there's a little more compassion and understanding. But when it's all internal and you're trying so hard to keep it from people because you think it's wrong and bad and terrible,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you find out you've done such a good job at keeping it, they don't understand. Like they don't get it. They don't see it. And
Well, and
it's
in
a
some
weird thing.
aspects, they don't, yeah, they don't know you because you didn't really know yourself very well.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. So how could they?
Sorry.
If I wasn't putting myself out there, then yeah.
But you didn't know yourself. So, I mean, and listen, we were both raised in the era of like you had to be something, like labels, and like this is what I represent to the world, that outside, how do I fit in? How can I, it's so funny because we started off this podcast talking about how unique we are, right? But then there is that part of ourselves that's like, yeah, but I want to fit in because I want to be liked and I want to be loved and I don't want to be judged. It's always about judgment, right? Always
Yes.
about judgment. Ugh. And the people in the world that can, and listen, when I catch myself judging someone else or their way of life or, whatever it might be, it's a constant thing in our head because it's been trained
Yeah.
into us, I think. Because babies don't come out judging. That's
No.
trained. No, we're trained to do
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe that too. And
Yeah.
yes, I think especially for us, like growing up, just like you said, that survival and in that time frame, it was just different. Of course, kids are still going through a similar thing now, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Definitely.
wild thinking about
Definitely.
how, because we had like Cosmopolitan magazine or Teen Vogue, and it's like 5 ways to get boys to like you.
It's so
Like
true. And everyone had magazines and you were looking at them.
Yes.
Taking the
Yes.
quizzes.
Yes.
How do I
And it
fit
was,
in? Oh, I'm 0 to 5.
yes. And all the things. So that's what's interesting too, because then you could, like corporate America, like big corporate ideas could kind of control the little people a little more like that, right? Because we're all independently looking at the same magazine, thinking this is what we have to fit into. But
Yeah.
now with TikTok and the individuals showing up in stories, it's like, oh, there's more options. This is great.
Yeah. Yes, this is great for those of us who've been waiting for that to happen, right? Like, yeah, this is great. And then for those who are kind of stable in their current world, it can feel a little off-putting, I think. I think that's
True.
when you see people who come in, it's like, "Oh, you're too different from me, so therefore I have to judge you." But you know what? It's going to happen so rapidly. It already has happened rapidly that's just being just debunked. Like, believe what you want to believe. Listen, and that's what I always say. Like, you have a belief system about something, just Google it. You will always find other people who agree with you and believe what you do. And it could be the most obscure thing to the most basic thing. There is another person who believes what you believe. And you can form a committee and a group for it, right? That's what this is all about. That's so freaking cool. Okay, so for yours, your unique quality. Is that the question I asked you? What's the most unique thing about yourself? Is that what I asked? I don't even remember.
I can't even remember now. Sorry, I got us on a whole tangent. But yeah, what
No,
about
it's good. No
you?
tangent. I would say currently right now, what I would say is channeling or being intuitive or whatever word you want to use for it. That has been the thing that I have probably done all my life. I didn't know it, and instead I just conformed to my family and their belief system. And I think we've talked about it in other podcasts, so I won't spend much time on it, but I think there's this level of like, I still struggle with that. In fact, I was at a huge networking event back in December, and it was all women, absolutely love and adore all of them. And they were doing like a number thing to win a prize. A girl and I tied, and we were going to win a prize. So they set a number. They were across the room, and they set a number. We both had to say whoever got closest to the number wins. So in this huge group, well, I'm no dummy. I'm just going to watch the pencil. So I'm watching the woman's pencil, and I see her do a straight line, and then I see her make a move. I'm like, oh, so it's in the teens. Okay, so I said 14, and the woman yells out, I forget how psychic you are. That's what you do. Of course you would know the number. I about crapped myself. It was the most uncomfortable moment for me. And to me, it was
Really?
like they see this in you and you don't even own it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I felt like I had to go around the room and explain to everybody, I was just watching the pencil. And then I thought, what's the big deal if they, like you were saying, like this whole internal conversation going on about, oh my God, what does the room think of me now? People are talking about me and they're going to judge me. Those that are really religious are going to tell me that I'm wrong and I'm evil. And then other people like this whole thing went off. And yeah, so yeah, I think it's kind of
Interesting.
funny, but yeah, everybody's got their unique stuff, right? It's
Yes,
time to embrace
everybody
it.
does. It's
Yeah.
time to embrace it. It's funny. I think being a teacher at the high school has helped me a little bit too, because I watched some of the girls, like when I was long term subbing for the speech teacher last year, and some kids had to give a speech, and these girls were like freaking out. There were two girls. They're like, I can't do it. It is so embarrassing. And we had to like go out in the hall, and they're like super dramatic about it, right? And I was like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
But I could just see
Right.
myself in her. So I like let her have her freak out. And she's like, everybody's going to be staring at me. And I was like, okay, and then what? She's like, then they're going to be like thinking about what I'm saying. And I was like, and then what? She's like, I was like, well, what would happen if they did? She's like, nothing, I guess.
Yeah, right. Good way to help her process through that, Rebecca. That was awesome. And then what?
No.
And like, oh, yeah, there is nothing else. Okay, I worked my way through it. I
Yeah.
love it. That was
She
so
gave a
good.
speech. She was fine.
Oh my gosh, I
But it's like
flipping
the same
love it.
thing. It's funny how
Yeah.
our little inner teenager is always hanging out with us.
It's so true, right? It's so true. They're always
Right?
around. Like those phases of our lives are still active within us because there is no time. I love that. That's
I know.
good.
It's so funny. Because, like, present Michelle, like, if today, right now, Michelle could go back to
Yeah.
that moment, you'd be like, y'all are silly. Like, okay, whatever. Like, you could probably be more okay
Yeah.
with it.
True. Very
But,
true. I love it.
but speaking of channeling and connecting and everything, we both drew some cards right before this, before we got on. And they were really cool. I feel so. Do you want to dive into those?
Yeah, so the first card that I pulled, which cracked me up, was it's the full moon in Scorpio, which actually is happening a couple days after, when as we're recording this, it hasn't happened yet, right? And it's about breathing through tension. And then my second card that I pulled from the tarot deck is Ace of Cups. And so for me, what I got from that, it was cracking me up because this morning I did a quick channeling. I was getting ready to go on to teach class this morning, and all of a sudden I could feel that they wanted to say something to the class. I pulled out my pen and paper and I'm writing really quickly. It was a different energy than what I'd ever tapped into before. And yes, I do all the protections and all that good stuff for people who are like, and the one line that they said made me bust out laughing. Let me let me read it because I think it's funny because I think it has to do with these cards. That's why I'm bringing this up, because Scorpio's got that intense energy, and it's saying, you got to breathe through things. And so they said in here, we're all opening up to this new high level of potentials and expansion happening. And things might feel like tight underwear. And then I could hear them laughing. I'm like, tight underwear? What are you talking about? And they say, no, just go along with it. And I said, okay. And they're like, so this expansion might feel like tight underwear when you will feel a sense of tightness before the expansion. And I was like, that's freaking brilliant. Like, bringing a little laughter into something that, any expansion in the world, right? It feels any shift and change, and we certainly are going through changes right now, rapid changes. So to breathe through it and to have a little bit more lightness, right, of what's going on, I think is so important right now. Walking through the eclipse season, and now we're going through a Jupiter and Uranus conjunct that happens actually tomorrow, which will be later because this video will come out later. But anyways, it's like there's some intensity things going on. Like, we're seeing such an evolution and expansion, and that's what Uranus is here to teach us. Like, it's here to teach us, like, the spark of things and equality, and making sure that innovation is for the people, not just for the few. All of that stuff is happening, like, right now. And a great example, which I know you're going to love, is like the equality finally of one aspect of women's basketball is that their game was more watched than the men's. Finally, Yes.
How
long have we been waiting for freaking that, right?
Oh my
Like,
gosh, yes.
huge.
And not
Huge.
only it's not even that they were watched by more than the men's Final Four. It's like, you look at it, more people watched the women's playoffs than, like, some of the baseball playoff games. Like, way
Nice.
more than hockey. Even some of the
Nice.
football playoff games. Like, they're like exponentially more.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And you're right. Yes. Like, 12-year-old me is freaking out. It's like so excited right now.
Yes. And I love it. And that's part of the energy that we're feeling, like these extreme shifts, like just, and it felt like, it literally to me felt like I think I've been saying it all along with my husband, because he's a huge sports fan. And that would always be my complaint. It's like, where's women's sports? Like, why is it never shown on national TV? Like, why do I have to scroll down to like, ESPN Ocho, the eighth one?
Right.
Oh, there's their games, right? It was so irritating. And it literally felt like overnight a switch happened, and all of a sudden it became more watched than anything else. And it was like everybody was talking about it. Like,
Yes.
I love it. Now, we still have the very much disquality about what they're getting paid. However,
Absolutely. But the conversations are happening.
yes. And that's exciting. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much change happening, so much pivoting, so much growth, that sometimes when the tension builds up, listen, I'm a Scorpio. I get deep and dark stuff. I can go there very easily. But it's like, but when you bring the lightness into it, like tight underwear, oh my God, it made me laugh. Like, okay, I'm going to start looking at all my tension as tight underwear, and then it will eventually expand once I get it to it. Take that for whatever you want.
They could have said like a brand new pair of shoes that's uncomfortable to get in, but no, they're like
Tight underwear? It felt like when I was channeling, it was a very Sagittariusly endorsed group, because they were laughing the whole time their message was going on. It was hysterical. I've never experienced that before. So anyways, that's my
gosh.
cards. What you got there, girl? What'd you pull for everybody for the collective?
Well, I gotta say, I love that so much, because I know for me specifically, I forget to have fun a lot of times, because it's probably the Capricorn in me, but to just laugh really helps switch things.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, so I have a deck. I'm just gonna show what deck I use. It's the Angel Tarot cards.
Okay.
So I drew the 8 of Fire, what is this in the tarot? Is this
Wands.
wands?
8 of Wands.
Thank you. I was about to say swords. I was like, I don't think that's right. So the 8 of Fire, it says events moving at a fast pace, delays are over, many things happening at once. So that's really a lot of what you just said. Hold on tight, because things now move into high gear. Whew, your plans manifest with swiftness and energy, which I'm going to call this in for myself, because I feel like, good grief, let's get some things going. And then the other one was 4 of Fire.
4 of Fire, yeah.
And this one, contentment, peace, and abundance, a happy home life, successful completion of a project. So it just feels like it's really just tapping onto your message. Like, yes, things are moving at a fast pace. This is really bringing us the stability that we need. The stability that's here for this time to help move us forward. What a potent thing for all the transits happening right now.
Well, and you consider the eclipse season too, because it's in a fire air sign. And so that is the quickness. Like last year, I felt like things were kind of moving at a very slow pace. And, I think you can tell a lot by the energies truly through the eclipses, where they're landing for the year, because we have them, different ones that will hit certain places or whatever. But like the eclipse seasons kind of do give you that frequency of energy, like what's going to be felt by everybody. And it's just quick. Like, that 8 of Fire in your card reminds me of one of the first channeling I did for 2024. Talked a lot about pivoting. Like this idea that things are going to be moving along, and somebody's going to be going at one, they're going to think they have things figured out. And all of a sudden they're going to do a 90-degree angle. And what happens in a pivot, and they kept using the word pivot. I don't know why. I kind of like the word now, like instead of drastic or whatever. It's like, no, it's a pivot. That's all you have to view it. But the thing that they really wanted us to understand with this fast moving energy is that when someone is making a choice to make a change in whatever aspect of their life, usually when people do it that drastically and that quickly, it's because it just lines up and it feels absolutely uber good to them, and they're just going to do it. But who it disrupts is the world around them. And that's the part, like you and I talk about judgment, about it's so easy to go into judgment. And it's like, if you are going through, think about the times that you went through the biggest changes in your life. What did you want from people? You wanted the rah rah. You wanted, I'm here for you. Go for it. Don't worry about me. I'm going to be just fine. I love you and I support you. That's all you want to hear.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear the frickin' naysayers because you've made the decision, right?
Right.
And I think that for those of us who are watching people make drastic changes and I'm that way too. There's times I kind of want to like say something like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Oh, no. There's never a question for myself anymore." I do not say that to anybody anymore because it's your journey. And I don't have to be worried about myself. That's very egoic. I need to be sending them peace and love. Does that make sense? That was a good message.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you're right. That is all you want. You don't want the like negative Nancy's or the like hovering kind of mom energy, right? I get that image. I remember when my kids were little, we were at the playground one time, and this boy was doing something on the playground, and the mom, it's her firstborn, it's her only child, so she's like literally right over, and like, and I'm like, that's the image I get. It's like that kid needs to learn to walk over, and there's no judgment. I totally did that too. Like I think probably
Every mom does.
Yeah. With that first kid and they're little. It's like, I remember the first time that my oldest son hurt himself. I remember it so clearly. I felt so bad. I have no idea when my second kid hurt himself the first time. No clue.
Okay. Yeah. It's
but he
the
was
truth.
more, yeah.
Yeah. That's the truth. That's funny.
He was also wilder. He's also had stitches more than once. And my oldest has not. So, but yes, yes.
Yeah. We're both moms to two boys. No, yes, I get it. I just want to say we had boys. So yeah, we had more of those stitches kind of thing going on. Yeah. So I really feel like that energy is, we really are moving into a place of accelerated change. So breathing through the tension, making it a little bit lighter and brighter, because we know that whatever energy we steep into a change is what the change will bring us. I think that science is finally catching up with a lot of the ideologies that people who are in the new, I hate even using the new age word, but there is no other word that I can find, because spirituality again can go in different directions. But it's kind of like when we know that the energy is shifting into something else, we have this really prime moment to steep into this change, like dumping into a bucket of positivity and love and learning. Because you know what? With every change, there's learning curves within all of it. There's an adjustment with all of your auras, like your physical, your mental, your emotional. All of them go through a change with you. And so the more that we can learn to just be patient, kind of laugh things off and say, hey, I'm going for a ride, the easier this transition of walking into the age of Aquarius, I think, is for all of us. And it's a thing I have to constantly remind myself. Constantly.
Because it is a different energy. Like, we've made it to adulthood in this whole different world.
Yeah.
And now things are shifting. And I think you and I are on board for it. We're like, yes, let's do it. At the same time, it's also just weird because we're so used to old ways and
I
different
think human
things.
design, helped open us up to seeing. Here's the thing, too, that learning human design, not only was it just beneficial to know myself to such a degree that I didn't even know. The things I learned about myself were crazy, or confirmation of things. But there's also the element of learning how other people must be then. Because if I have this and someone else doesn't, what is their world like? So it brought upon such a new way of interacting with other human beings.
Yeah.
You could see them with more compassion or understanding, or knew how to support them differently, because if I know their chart and I'm working with somebody, like, it's so much easier to support them using their verbiage that works for them, because it's not about me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So
You
moving
stop
through
trying to make
judgment.
everybody be like you or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
know.
and it could be
It's been
some
a
of my,
lifesaver.
right? Yeah, learning human design has been a lifesaver, hasn't it?
It really has. It helped me so much, especially like looking at my family's charts. I'm the only projector, let alone mental projector. My brother and dad are generators. My mom's a manifester. So growing up in that space, it just helped me understand a little more, what the conditioning specifically that I took on.
And I
And
love
then,
talking to your mom. Your mom, that was an interesting conversation when I got to meet your mom. Really was. Because
yeah,
manifestors are so different, but she's an older manifester in age, right? So
yes,
her life experience, I can only imagine what her life experience was like. And having to go through not having all the women's rights and all that other stuff, right? To the level you and I
right,
have it as a
right.
manifestor. I think it's very interesting to look at.
I know she's even mentioned that aspect because she, grew up in the 60s, and she's like, I really thought that we were doing good, helping with the feminist movement. But now it seems like we didn't do anything just based on
Yeah,
what's happening now, and I'm like, well, we
right.
couldn't be doing stuff now if y'all hadn't have done stuff then. So it's just a stepping stone. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey with my mom and me. Just I guess maybe separating myself because with all my openness, I feel like I just get overwhelmed sometimes. But it's
Yeah,
helped me to understand why and like what's going on. So that's good.
yeah. And it wasn't you. It was the energy around you, right?
Right, right. And it
Yeah,
did the same with my divorce when I looked at his chart. I was like, "Oh, now
I
I
get
know
it.
why." Yes.
So true, so true. So I guess
Yes.
what we're saying is like really be embracing, like let's really all just like embrace our uniqueness, understanding that it's one of your gifts. It's one of all of our uniquenesses are gifts, right? And that the energy is
Yeah.
moving really quickly right now. So try to make light of whatever you can make light of and have some more fun. I think
Have some
Americans are
fun.
pretty serious people.
Oh my gosh, we need to calm down. Like, can we bring siestas here? That'd be great. But I just got an image of like putting our hands up. Like life is a roller coaster, right? Like just put your hands up, have some fun,
Yes,
scream a
girl,
little,
yes.
laugh a little, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
chill. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. I feel like this was a really fun conversation. I'm
It
curious
was
to
a fun
hear
one.
who relates to it and what popped out at you.
Yeah. And as we always say, you guys, how good can it get?
See y'all next time. Thank you for going on this journey with us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. And if you're ready to learn more, find us on abstractcuriosity.com.